Greetings everyone, welcome once again to Camry Naturals. Betty Mora here, the founder and lead formulator for Camry Naturals. So as I said last time on the previous video that we are going to start a formulation series. This is a purely beginners formulation series and we're going to learn on how to come up with different formulations that are going to do at home. So if you have not watched that video, kindly go back and watch that video so that you can be prepared on what to expect. So today, our first topic on starting on the beginners formulation series is equipment. Before we talk about anything else, we'll first of all require to know the equipment that we need to purchase. So most of you are going to start your creation in the kitchen. That is where we all started, even the best of the best. So when you start your formulation, most probably 98%, let me give a chance for the 2%, are going to start in the kitchen. Very few people will start probably in their garage or in an extra room or in a spare, I don't know, servant quarter, but majority of you will start in the kitchen. So there are some few equipment that will be required to have even when you are in the kitchen. And first of all, disclaimer, when you start in the kitchen, I request you to separate your formulation equipment and your home equipment. Your home equipment should never be used in formulation, and your formulation equipment should never be used at home. So you segregate a portion of your kitchen, like take a cupboard or two, and then make that like your home lab. And the items that you're going to make from your kitchen should only be used by your family members and friends next to you. So as you upgrade to go commercial, try and find a space or even incubation. So the equipments that you're going to use for your formulations, we have several equipments, but I'll start with the basic ones. So these equipments, you are not limited to these equipments alone. These are the very basic. So as you expand, you'll get more equipments. As you expand, you'll get more advanced equipment. So it's not like this is the Bible truth. This is just the first equipment. Let's just say the things that will be required to start with. So next, you're going to look at the good manufacturing practice on how to sanitize this equipment and how to maintain them. But for today, let's just mention the equipment. The first thing that you are required to have is your PPE. That is your personal protective equipment. So PPE, this comprises of your lab coats, preferably a white coat. As you can see, a white coat looks fair enough. So that is, even when it's dirty, you can easily see. When it has an issue, you can easily see. So a white coat is what is recommended. So I'll prefer you get a white coat or an apron. So there are people who prefer apron, there are people who prefer coats. So that is your choice. So a white coat is supposed to help you, it protects you due to spillage. Imagine oil spilling on your clothes. They will simply destroy your clothes. So some of the protective equipment include the safety gloves, that is to protect your hands and also to ensure that your product is free from microbes, the bacteria. So it helps both ways. And then you should have your safety goggles. So your safety goggles is very important to protect your eyes. Any spillage on your eyes, that's harmful to your eyes, because you don't want light to go to your eyes. Imagine you're making soap, even when you're blending, and any chemical going to your eyes, it's very wrong. Even though our formulation for us, it's 100% natural. Yes, the ingredients they're comfortable to touch, they're comfortable to interact with, but still you just have to protect yourself from any spillage, that is any foreign organ in your eyes. It's not allowed. So you are also required to have a first aid kit in the lab. This is because in the lab, a beaker might fall down, you might injure yourself. So anything bad can happen. So it's always good to have a first aid kit. Just the same way you are required to have first aid kit in your house is the same way you'll have it even in the lab. So the second thing that you'll be required to have, it's a beaker. Remember our sciences. That glass beaker, the one that is calibrated, yes, you'll have a beaker. So when you start out, you'll start with the tiny beakers, that is around 50 ml, 100 ml, 250 ml, 500. Then you'll graduate to 2,000 and 5,000. That ones will come later. Start with the small ones as you graduate. Then you don't have to buy a lot. It's not like you're going to fill your entire kitchen with the beakers. No, just buy around 4 or 5. That one is good for a start. You can start there, then keep graduating from there. So on the beakers, this is where you'll be required to stir, to heat it. So get a good quality beaker. And by the way, I will leave links to places where you can buy these things. So don't you worry. And then the third thing that you'll be required to have is you can have a graduated cylinder. in the place of a beaker. Personally, I have cylinders, but I rarely use them because of their tiny neck. You know, the cylinder, the way it's shaped. So it's really hard to use. It's not like a beaker. So for a cylinder, it's good when you're mixing oils or when you're heating oils. But apart from that, I will just advise stick to a beaker. And then you'll have the pipettes. So pipette, you'll use it when you are taking tiny amounts of liquid. So you don't want to spill the liquid from the bottle and then it comes pouring on the corners of the bottle. So you'll use a pipette. That one is easy to scoop with. And then you'll use a glass rod. Glass rods are very nice for stirring, especially when you're stirring chemicals that you don't want to have any reaction. Let's say you're stirring your lye, you'll need a glass rod. You're stirring your oil to check if all the solids have melted, you'll need a glass rod. Then you'll need scales. Scales is very important. When it comes to scale, they're calibrated differently. So to begin with, you'll have a scale that starts from 0.0 grams all the way to 3,000 grams. And then from there, you'll graduate. So don't be in a hurry to go to a higher scale value like 5,000. Start with the tiny grams, because in the beginning, you'll even have essential oils measured to up to 2 grams. So you need a scale that will be sensitive enough to capture such small scales. So, and then apart from the scales, you'll also need thermometer, or basically a temperature gun. So whichever one that you find easier, it's okay. If you're good at placing a thermometer, then you read, or just using a temperature gun, good for you. That one it's an open field. Use whichever one that you like. Then you need a pH meter. Yes, I know in the beginning, it's very hard for people to have pH meters. So as you're doing your anhydrous products, you don't need pH meter. So later on, we'll talk about anhydrous products. Don't worry about the word. But as you advance, you'll need a pH meter, because when you start making creams, lotions, and cleansers, you'll need to have your pH very close to your skin pH, which is 5.5. So we'll have another different topic on pH. But for now, we'll just need a pH meter, and I'll show you where to purchase one. So you can have an advanced one or a beginner's one. So I'll show you the difference. And then next, you'll be required to have your water bath. So water bath, this one is, there are people who have the hot plate, but not so many people, because electricity is quite high. So you can just buy your gas, get your Meko, just the tiny gas, and use that one. Use that one with a water bath. Just place a sufuria, pour water, and then place your beakers inside. That one is very easy and easy to start with. So if you can afford a hot plate, well and good. If you can't afford a hot plate, then simply use your Meko. So the next one you'll be required to have is an oven. So when you have an oven basically works like a hot plate or a water bath. The difference is there are people who like to melt their butters in an oven. I don't know how economical that is, because I don't do that. But if electricity is not a problem to you, use an oven. So for you, if electricity is not a problem, go ahead and use your oven. Then you'll be required to have a blender or a mixer. I know most homes don't have blenders, because typically speaking, I didn't need a blender before I started Formulation. So I know it's very hard for you to just find a blender in a home. So you can start with your overhead mixers, the ones that you use to mix cakes. Yeah, you can start with those ones, but make sure it's just for Formulation. Don't mix it with the home one, the one that you use for your home usage. No. Then go ahead and buy a blender, because a blender will typically come in handy when you're starting to make your creams, your lotions in large batches. You'll need a blender for it to homogenize well. And then you'll require to have a freezer when you're creating batters. At some point, you'll require to freeze them after you've mixed them. So a freezer is important. As for now, you can share your freezer with your home freezer. The only catch is, whenever you're freezing your batters, ensure you remove everything. Like remove your meat, clean the freezer, and then use it. Then once you're done, you can return your home items. Then you'll need scoops and spoons for you to be scooping ingredients from your containers, and spoons to do the same thing. And then you'll need a funnel. Okay, as you're beginning, you won't know the importance of your funnel, but as you're advancing, these are some of the hacks that you'll come across while in the laboratory. So you'll need a funnel, because with time when you're buying bulk, let's say bulk oils, bulk distilled water, you'll be required to pour them in a tiny container for ease of access. Then you'll need a funnel to do that, so that it doesn't spill everywhere. And we'll also need a funnel when you're beginning and you're pouring lotions, like the thin lotion, then you'll need a funnel for that. And then something else, you will also need your microbial test. I know it's not necessary, like to begin with, it's not necessary because you're going to do most of anhydrous formulation. But as you start doing creams, as you start adding preservative to your products, then you need to check your microbial levels. So you need a microbial test kit. And then when you go commercial, that's when now you'll be required to send your sample to KEBS or to other laboratories to confirm that your microbial levels are quite low. But if you have to go to the market, then KEBS is a must. Then you'll be required to have cleaning items. Cleaning items will include cleaning containers, the sanitization. I'll show you the rubbing alcohol. Then we're required to have the tabs for sanitization. That one we'll discuss in the GMP, that is the good manufacturing practice, in the later video, so not now. Then you'll be required to have a buffer to calibrate your pH meters. Remember, your pH meters will require constant calibration. So you'll have a buffer both for acidity and for neutral. So I'll show you that one. And then you'll be required to have containers and bottles. Basically, these are jars where you'll pour your product once you're finished formulating. If you have mixed your oils, if you have mixed your butters, then you'll basically need a jar. You'll need labels, because they have to be labeled for them to be set apart. And then you will need stickers. So the stickers, they're used in formulation. So if you have different faces, you'll put tiny stickers so that you don't confuse. It's very important. It might look like an amateur move, but I usually encourage people, use stickers. Even when you advance, just use stickers to avoid confusion. Because at times you might be called, you might receive a call, then when you come back, you forget which is which. So just put your sticker. And then you need things like cling film when you are storing your products up and aside for some few minutes or some few days. So cling film, cover them up. You'll need aluminium foil. These are some of the hacks that you will learn as you proceed. What do aluminium foil does? Aluminium foil, what it simply does is, when you are heating and you don't want evaporation to happen so fast, put your aluminium foil on it. This way, you won't lose a lot of water. And then if you're making soap, definitely you need your soap mold and your soap cutter. So these are things that a beginner should have. You know, there are a lot of things. Don't worry, you can buy one at a time as you proceed forward, but ensure that you have most of these items to make your formulation easy and to enable you advance as time goes by. So for today, that is all that I'll be discussing. I don't want to add more confusion to that. I don't want to add anything more. So some of these things you will learn as we keep formulating, and I'll keep sharing with you. And as usual, I'll show you where to get them. Most of them actually. So if you are in Kenya, some of them are found in Kenya. If you're not in Kenya, most of them are found in Amazon. So I'll send the links, hopefully as much as possible, to allow each and every one of us to start from somewhere. So thank you for tuning into this channel. Remember, subscribe, keep subscribing, like the video so that it may reach as many people as possible, and then share to your family, friends, and relatives. And let's make formulating a hobby. Thank you.